crankcase half we just cast, and it is the third attempt at casting this part, and this time it came out essentially perfectly, which is great because now I can move on to cast the other half, which will hopefully only take one attempt because it's essentially identical. And now that I have honed in the manufacturing process and modified the design to make it more manufacturable, it should be very easy. Like all of the other cast of this part, the outside is really great. All four of the screw holes that hold the two case halves together cast well. I was able to tap them successfully. As you can see, there's a screw in each hole. The carburetor mounting port cast well again, and so did the hole that holds the carburetor down onto the crankcase. The outside surface also has a really great finish, like all of the other casts I have done of this part. This is just a cosmetic surface, but I like things that I make to look nice, and I think it looks nice. The top surface is where we had the success in this cast. In our first two attempts, we had failures of these holes casting. In the first attempt, we got the center hole to cast. In the second attempt, we got these two holes to cast. And this time, we got all three holes to cast, which is great. If you look in the video prior to this, you'll see that I used a very small drill to just clear out those holes slightly, which did help and made tapping easier. But apart from that, everything cast well and it looks really great. The surfaces are smooth and should mate well. On the inside, we have the bearing housing again. I didn't change anything from the last time. The bearing has a terrific press fit. It is held in with friction really well and can be removed if needed to be replaced, and I'm really happy with that. The surface finish on the inside is also perfect, essentially, like most of the other attempts of this cast. I'm going to go ahead and mount our most recent cylinder on with all three screws for the first time. I have actually recently decided that this will not be the final cylinder. I will cast the cylinder one more time. After making this part, I did a little bit more analysis, specifically the cylinder, and I found that there is a hole specifically right there that comes through from the inside of the transfer port, which is obviously not ideal because we would be leaking gas and we won't be able to hold pressure. So I will be casting this part one more time. But for the sake of a test fit in terms of this crankcase half onto the cylinder, everything will be the same the next time I cast the cylinder. It will just be a cast to remove the surface defect on that side that would be an issue. Putting on the last screw, all of them align very nicely. I don't have any issues getting them on. I can tighten them down really well. And I'm just gonna tighten each one a little bit more so it's nice and firm. And then we can take a look on the inside. The last time I mounted our second attempt at making the crankcase to the same exact cylinder, there was an alignment issue with the bore on the crankcase and the bore in the cylinder. However, if we look this time, the alignment issue has been resolved. The two parts align very nicely, and I'm very happy with that. The surfaces seem to mate very well. I obviously don't have any way of telling you exactly how well this holds a seal. However, I am looking into gasket paste to coat these two surfaces. Instead of manufacturing a custom sheet gasket, I will just apply some of this paste, a very thin layer, and then when I put the two parts together, it should harden or solidify into a high quality gasket. But for now, the fit looks really great. And they're two smooth surfaces that mate well together. The screws hold them together really well, and I'm really excited and I love how it looks. I'm also going to go ahead and quickly mount the carburetor like I have done in the past, just so if you haven't seen those other videos, you can see how that looks as well. Once again, like I've mentioned in the other videos, this is not the final carburetor. I doubt a plastic carburetor would work for this design. I will be making it out of metal, but this is essentially the same design I will be casting, and it's a good test fit. So there we go, tightening that on just with the one screw there. It aligns nicely like in all of our other attempts. You can see how the circle here aligns with the crankcase housing, at least this half of it. And then when we put the other half on, it will we'll attach the other screw and it'll be held together really well. That's pretty much it for now. So I am hopefully done casting this part unless I find an issue with it that I'm not seeing now or that I haven't noticed yet. This is perfect. It will work. It will be the final part I will test with. Like I mentioned, this cylinder unfortunately isn't going to work, so I'm going to go back and cast it probably after I cast this other crankcase, just because I've been thinking about casting this part recently a lot. I've just recently gone through the manufacturing process and it should be fairly simple to cast the other half. Once that's done, I'll cast the cylinder again, and then I'll move on to a lot of the smaller internal parts like the crankshaft, all of that good stuff. But this is really great because this is probably the second most challenging part after the cylinder, and I have had success. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting, possibly learned something new. Have a great day.